Hey, everybody. How are you today? So I'm here today to present a webinar on ADHD, and it's a very misunderstood thing. I think it's, well, for a long time in my life, I thought it was a curse, and not being able to focus and being hyperactive and being able to do many things was shamed and guilted by the world. But I'm now saying that curse has changed to me seeing it as a superpower, and I think people that have it have a gift, and it's not recognized as a gift right now. But I'm going to walk through my experiences, and maybe it'll help you see the gift. I'll also give you some tools and things that I've learned in myself that may help you understand yourself and maybe make the leap to making it a gift going forward. So I was just speaking to someone offline just before we started, and I think part of ADHD is having a dysregulated nervous system. I've had a dysregulated nervous system for a long time. I never had a healthy nervous system in my mother, who had some wounds and other things. It was not present in my life. So I have had to be hyper aware all the time of what's going on around me, the emotions of other people, the fact that I'm empathic, I feel other people's emotions. I'm a recovering people pleaser as well. When I grew up, we moved a lot as kids. It wasn't the army, it was the oil industry here in Canada, but probably about every year and a half to 2 years, we moved somewhere else. I never had friendships. I never had the traditional support mechanisms because that became our family. As I grew up, I decided I wanted to be an engineer. And being an engineer is a pretty hard path because you got to learn some really stupidly hard math. The engineering that I took was something called computer engineering, which was 3/4 of a computer science degree and 3/4 of an electrical engineering degree. So it was literally a 1.5 compared to everybody else of learning and trying to push stuff in a very short period of time to get a degree. I crashed and burned after my first year, and basically I had to take a year off and reset and refocus myself, which was very difficult and was very traumatic. I gained a lot of weight during that time in school. I was already overweight, but I was at my highest. I was 285 pounds during university. My nervous system was just out of regulation. I did not feel safe, did not feel comfortable, had to get all these assignments done and pass my course. Well, eventually I passed my course. As I stepped into the workforce and into life, I started to realize I was different than other people. And I now am okay with that. But at that time, I just got shit done. I don't know how else to describe it. Some people say attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. That's what ADHD stands for. You can invert those as well. So you can be not running around and chasing. You can put it within and gain weight and have other effects inside yourself. And that's what I did because I wasn't an active person and my self-belief was kind of inverted. So I gained a lot of weight and I was very sedentary. I was literally to the point my back was in agony and I had discs problems in the bottom of my back. And I'd have to, after sitting in those hard chairs at school, I'd have to lay on my back for an hour and a half, 2 hours to get out of the pain that I was feeling in my lower extremities. It may well be associated. I'm just kind of giving you the full picture. Now, the ability to focus is a difficult one, but I'm going to suggest that the ability to focus is entrained in our school system. It basically puts a child that's like, hey, look at this, look at that, look at this, try that, why this, why that. They put you in a chair and they make you look at the front and listen to a teacher droning on and don't move, don't get out of your chair, don't walk around the room, etc., which is a training and a programming. But children naturally are not that. Look at a kindergarten class, even to get them to lay down, to have a little nap or whatever is a massive task for the teachers to get them to calm down and regulate into being able to sleep. Why do we need to do this? Like, we're saying that children need rest, children need all these kinds of things, but the programming is to get us trained into following a 9 to 5 kind of workday, training us to be workers, training us with certain facts that may not even be true. It's starting to become aware, but we're trained into not movement, being of service to other people. But we're never designed to do that. We're here to be in service to ourselves. So as I advanced in my life, I found out I could do 6 things at once. Nobody else could do 6 things at once. And they were just like trying to keep up with me, and the way I can talk and how fast I can talk and blah, 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 blah. I can talk a mile a minute here, and I have to consciously slow myself down because I'm in such a rush to give value to other people, such a rush to get my point across, get my description across. I have to learn to be consciously in my body on a regular basis. And I learned to be a breathwork coach. By taking a long pause, a long breath can allow you to get centered back in your body, get grounded, and not be in that hyperactive state, that mind overthinking, racing, these kind of things. So I could do 6 things at once. Other people couldn't do that, but that made me very skilled to handle very large projects. So when I went into engineering, I became a telecom engineer with a company called Nortel Networks. And I moved up the chain very, very quickly. I was within the 15 years that I was there, I basically was managing multi-million-dollar projects with multiple sites all across the world, etc., because I had an eye for detail. I had an eye for fact. I was thinking out all the possibilities, which I now think is a trauma response, but was also very good, made me very good at handling multi-sites, multi-people, drawing facts together, etc., which is where I'm starting to get to the gift. The gift is I can process a lot of information at once and do it very quickly. The other gift is now learning to be able to regulate myself so that I can present it at a state to get to this point. I used to, when I talk, you'll hear me say ahs a little bit. It's still an leftover, but I would put placeholders in because it's like, what about this? What about that? I'm now having to consciously come inside my body and no longer chase what's going to come out or regulate it, but just take breaths and move through it in a way that's useful. Now, a flip side of that is also feeling emotions. When I feel emotions in other people, somebody's mad or they're really angry about something, or I come into a room and things are really dysregulated there, I have a choice, is what I'm finding. I can go in, I can immediately feel that, and then I'm like, and I want to smash and burn and be fire like all the rest, or I can calm it in my nervous system and become the calming influence. If you have ADHD, I'm going to suggest, and this is something I found in myself, is I am hypersensitive to energies and emotions. I can feel them. Even this is my calming response. As soon as I get hypersensitive or feel it, I'll put my hand on my heart. If you can't feel comfortable in that, take a deep breath, take a pause, withdraw slightly in the energy. The other thing I've learned is this sense has a volume control. And we have a choice to be 100% on, or we have a choice to bring the volume control down to 50% or 40%, basically by just consciously saying, okay, this is overwhelming me. I need to turn down the volume a little bit. And we can choose that. And this is something really critical, because as soon as the volume control's down, I got the volume control down about 5 most of the time because I can hear it really loud still. I don't react the same. My nervous system doesn't go into fear, excitement, anger, or whatever the prevailing emotion is. Because being hypersensitive, hyper-aware, hyperactivity disorder, we begin to feel too much, experience too much outside of ourselves. And we got to find that set point. We can turn the volume down. It's not so loud, so it's not screaming in my ear and I can't even think. Now all of a sudden I can say, I'm going to ground myself. I'm going to go into presence. I just putting your hands on your heart like this can feel awesome, or a little further down, just feel awesome. Maybe one on your belly. And just take a minute to take a conscious breath. What's going on? And ask, because often I find myself, my thoughts will go to the past. Like, oh, this is going to happen again. That guy's going to yell at me. This is going to be hard. And I'm going to be screaming and I'm going to be crying afterwards. It doesn't have to happen, because I'm going to tell you right now, every conscious choice you make about how you react or not react will change you. And it gives you the gift of what I'll call self-awareness. A lot of that nervous system reaction, that reacting to things, is actually a trauma that's reliving in our nervous system. It's like our parents screaming at us, or here's the really simplest one, which most of us have. When you were a little toddler, you were walking around first time on your feet, and you're all wavy and all this kind of stuff, and you're like, oh, I see that glass thing. And you're going to run up to it, and you go up to touch it, and you're in your full and complete curiosity. And all of a sudden, a parent comes behind us and goes whack, or whacks our hand. And basically, our nervous system becomes dysregulated, because our programming, our system says we got to protect. I love you. I don't want you to break that and get cut on the glass or touch the hot stove. These things that we have been told are love are actually entraining our nervous system to expect the unexpected in the moment, instead of, hey son, stop that, don't go there, or pick them up and move them somewhere else. The parents just get tired because the parents were entrained by their parents, and the system has been propagating use hitting or spanking or whatever. And I know that change is happening, but a lot of us grew up with this. When I grew up, a teacher could still use a yardstick on your ass if you were being bad. It was right at the very end of it. And I know my dad lived in that completely. I got whacked on the ass more times than you can count, and thank God you're not, or whatever. The system is shifting and changing. But if we think about what epigenetic lineage is, we carry those traumas from our parents. If they're in their mind, their consciousness, our DNA carries epigenetic, which is basically lineage trauma or awareness of past experiences. And a lot of times we're reliving the fear of something that was never filtered out by our great grandmother, grandmother, all the way up the chain. And we live in this conscious or unconscious state of reacting to something that we're not even sure is going on in our system. So ultimately, the biggest win that I've made in understanding my ADHD is the fact that I'm complicit in it. I have turned to reaction instead of observing sometimes. And I'm in the reaction. I'm in the energy of, I'm playing out. And I'm not even consciously aware that I'm doing it, because it's in my subconscious mind that, oh, somebody's going to hurt me. This is how it started last time. This is whatever. But by turning that down, using my breath, getting present in my body and getting grounded, all of a sudden that railing energy that wants to scream and yell and makes me feel like I want to run away, all of a sudden is grounded, and I'm sitting in my body. I picture it as a lot of my day I'm disassociated in my nervous system. I don't want to be in my body. It's too safe. It's too unsafe. It's too loud. It's too noisy. It's too bad. It's too newsy, whatever you want to call it. And how do I get back in my nervous system? How do I make a conscious choice? I say, hey, I'm grounding myself. You can go and put your feet in the grass, get grounded, walk in nice green grass and feel those little stakes of the leaves of grass or whatever touching you and tickling you. My feet are really ticklish. I find people that have really ticklish feet may not be fully in their nervous system, because they're not fully in their body, because the energies in their feet are just like this. And when I get a massage, they can hardly touch my feet at the beginning, as long as they squeeze and touch gently, and I get grounded. I come back into my nervous system, and no longer am I jumping and that hurts, that's scary, that's sad. Are these true for you? So what sets you off is the next thing. So what are the things that trigger you? What are the things that make you angry? What are the things that put you into an emotion that feels way bigger than you are? Is a really good clue that there's something replaying in your nervous system. Now, The key next is curiosity. As we get curious about what's going on in our body, why are we reacting? Why does this feel angry? Why does this feel scary? Why does this feel bad? A magic starts to happen because you'll get answers. Not everybody gets answers the same way. Some will get a voice. And often when I get a voice, it's my own voice talking to me. And I'm like, oh, is that my mind or what's going on? But I'll get an answer. Or you can be claircognizant. That's my primary one, where I just know something. It's like, that feels off. I don't know. You can do things in your brain. You can do like a pendulum. Am I a man? And I can feel this little pointer in the top of my forehead goes all the way to my right, which is my yes and my no. You can actually train yourself inside your head. You don't need a pendulum or all these kind of things. You can do muscle testing. You can say, am I a yes? If you're a yes, pulling your fingers together, it's like, am I Bob? Oh, am I Paul? Am I Bob? No, my fingers release. Your body has an inherent knowance of what's a lie, what's truth, what's positive, what's negative. We can start to ask ourselves questions. If you can't hear a voice or whatever, you can do that muscle testing. Am I Paul? Oh, I can pull on that all day long. You can also have a friend put your arm up. It's the craziest thing. I have a chiropractor that does this, and it's like, are you Paul? And my arm stays up and I can resist him. And he says, are you Bob? And my arm goes weak. And I'm sitting there like trying to hold it up and my arm goes weak. Try it in your body. You'll be surprised. We are returning to self-awareness, to listening to our body talk to us, to listening to the inherent intuition that's part of every one of us. And if you're in a state of ADHD or feel you're ADHD or even autistic, which is even a higher range, you have gifts and tools that may not be recognized as gifts and tools right now. That hypersensitivity to sound, hypersensitivity to emotion or whatever is a gift, and it will allow you to know stuff about people. I can just walk up to a person and I'll know stuff about them. Oh, they're sad, they're angry, they could be smiling and not really happy or whatever, but I can feel their energy. I can feel what's truly inside themselves. So this gift may make you a good healer. This gift may make you a good mediator. It may make you someone that feels and knows and experiences people just by their vibration. You can feel the vibration. Think of yourself as somebody told me once, and I believe them, every hair on our body, like women shave their legs or whatever. But I have a woman that was on one of my lives. I think her name was Tina. She basically said every time she shaved her legs, she didn't feel nearly as sensitive to the world as she did before that. But this is a thing where women shouldn't be hairy or whatever. I don't know all the reasons for it, but she had an experience. Even the sensationalism of walking in shorts was a huge pleasure to her body when she had longer hairs on her legs, but the other time she didn't feel that anymore. The wind blowing across didn't have that sensitivity, because every hair that we have on our body may be an antenna, because that's what she indicated, but it also has all these little nerve cells down at the bottom there. It can feel it move. That's why sensuality and soft touch of rubbing the hair or gently on somebody, or I love when my hair is short like this and it feels so intense, the air blowing on my hair, etc., feels so much more sensual. And that's basically a sense in our body. It has nothing to do with sex. It's like, whoa, the wind is basically caressing my body. That may be only because I have ADHD and I feel these sensations much deeper than other people. But as you start to explore sensation in your body and learn to control the volume and not have it overwhelm you, you will feel safe in your body and a natural nervous system result will happen. And as you learn some of the tools I talked about, right? I'll talk about a few more in a minute. You can start to be your own best advocate. So when things get over sensualized or whatever, somebody's starting to yell and they're really frustrated and they're pointing their finger at you or whatever, I'm going to suggest what I've learned is put my hand up. Say, excuse me, this isn't fun for me, and I'm going to step back for a minute and take a couple deep breaths and say, step out of that energy. It's going to teach them that maybe their nervous system is out of control. Maybe they're pushing a trauma out on me, hoping that I'm going to help them heal it, when really it wasn't my responsibility. I have the ability as a healer and somebody that can feel them to interact with them in a loving way. But often the energy that's propagating this is an unhealed inner child. There's a little boy inside me that's mad, and he's tired of his dad yelling at him. And every time a boss yells at him, it's my dad again. Absolute truth. But I've learned that kind of barfing my dad stuff and my frustration and stuff doesn't serve. It's not emotional intelligence. I basically just create a trauma in them, and then the circle goes on, and then it gets worse for me. I've learned to have conscious discussions. Excuse me, why are you yelling? And oh, they hate it because you're not ramping to them. You're not meeting their trauma. You're not being their perpetrator, but you're retraining them by your example. And it's not your job to retrain them, but it's your responsibility to self-love yourself. So as I self-love myself, that little boy that's inside me begins to trust me, and you won't take any shit from these kind of people again, which is true. And I don't have to scream or yell or hit or do anything. All I have to do is say, excuse me, this isn't serving either of us. And a lot of times the reaction will be like, or kind of wanted to barf something out or whatever. Just say, okay, I'm stepping away because you're not in your nervous system right now safe. And they're like, oh, what do you mean? Tilt. They're going to a tilt. But can you imagine that you're actually almost in a way reparenting them by your example of your inner child that's no longer reacting and responding in a societally normative way in anger, frustration, fear, doubt, pissed offness. And all of a sudden they're like, there's a better way. Maybe there's a better way. And then they're curious. And then they might follow me around like a happy puppy or whatever for a while, just trying to figure out if I can fix it for them. It's not my job to fix it for them. It's my job to show a good example so that this behavior is no longer drawn in by my vibration. Now, here's another good one to think about. Your vibrational level at ADHD or autistic levels may be higher than other people. You may feel emotions really strongly. You may get lots of pleasure, happiness, bliss waves, and then at the same time crash so hard that you want to kill yourself. At least that's my experience, because I feel emotion so strongly. And that's a side effect of feeling emotion so strongly. When you can feel somebody else's sadness and pain to this deep level, or you begin to carry it as an empath, and I believe ADHD people are really strong empaths. Sometimes I would get to a point where I would try and fix people or help them or fix them. I said that, or save them. And I learned something. We're not here to do anything for anyone. We're only here to love ourselves and find our own way. So when I would, as an infant, for example, I would not breastfeed with my mother because she had been raped as a child and she called herself a stupid little girl. She admitted that. After I grew up and I did a bunch of healing on myself, all of a sudden she sat down with me and said, I was a stupid little girl. Somebody in my family raped me over and over, and I refused to tell my parents because he said he would tell them and she'd be in trouble. Now, when I was born, I was an infant, a pure little soul. And I hoped my mommy, I would breastfeed and it would taste good and it would feel good and I would get a nervous system response from her, and it would train my body by breastfeeding with her. Well, I would not breastfeed with her. I now know why, because her milk, I can go back to that point in my life. Her milk didn't taste safe to me. It tasted sour because she was angry. Her vibration was low and she was unhappy. And I couldn't feel safe with my mom if my mom didn't feel safe in her own body. So I gave all my energy as an infant to my mother to help her feel good. And then I took on her rape and all this stuff that was going on in the world of men and all these other things, which was none of my business, but I did. And then I walked around for 30 years of my life, complete like zombie trying to figure out why women felt this thing in me. But that was my hypersensitivity, my trying to fix. You will also learn that when you're trying to save people and you're trying to fix them, and if you feel bad for someone, that's a good clue. I was carrying her, but I was stopping her from her lesson. And this is the noodle popper for me. It's like all the dark that's going on in the world, all the traumas, all the things that people are struggling and trying to survive from has a purpose. You may not understand the purpose. From the outside, it may look like dark and cabal and what an awful universe and all this kind of stuff. It all has a purpose. It's all been squeezing us like a toothpaste tube to basically make a choice to implode, which basically means all of a sudden give up all your old beliefs and burn like a fiery phoenix in not meant to kill us. Now, some people will take it to that level, and I don't condone that in any way, shape, or form, but it can sure feel that way. But there's a spot before we completely break or destroy ourselves where we just shatter. And basically, all of a sudden, all these beliefs and all these stories and all these programs and all these things that restrict me from having love in my life and being successful and all these kind of things, they just shatter, and I have to start fresh. And we're in that point right now for a lot of people right now where we're being pushed so hard by the universe, by our guidance, by the stories, by the program, by the government, by what's on the news, etc., that it's just forcing us into a tilt. And that may be the best way to think about it. And a pinball machine, it was a tilt. People would lift the pinball machine and have a little sensor in it that says tilt, and it would void the game. Well, tilt is basically us getting to the point where we can no longer safely interact with a reality that doesn't have anything to do with us, and finally it'll jar us into awakening, into a conscious shift of the story, the program, the system is not serving me. And once we find that, magic starts to happen. We start to recognize things. It's like, oh, where did I learn that story? I was watching a post on a woman's page, and she was sharing this meme about how sexuality is dirty and you're just combining DNA with other people, and it's a meme that's been going around forever. And I was like, this does not serve anyone. It's like this conscious story that people just keep republishing that has a little bit of truth in it, but it actually shames everybody into thinking that our sexuality and our pleasure is dirty, which is so far from the truth. Yes, if you're at a low vibration, those things will come into your life and you'll get the same propagating over. It doesn't mention that. It just says all sex is bad or dirty, or, well, it doesn't even mention when it is good. So there's memes like this being constantly poured into our ears by social media, by other people, by our parents, our partners. So the biggest step that you can take each day is to be consciously aware and curious. Take a step back. I get in places where I step behind my body, my consciousness steps behind my body about 5 feet, and I'm looking at myself and I'm like, why are you so angry? Why are you so suffering? Why are you so whatever? And I'll see it, and my body's just like tight and coiled like a cat ready to jump on a hot tin roof or whatever you want to call it. And I'm like, I need to get back in my body. I need to feel, but not too much. So then I need to twist that volume control down. I need to breathe, and I need to consciously, literally, I feel it as like my butt sitting into my butt. My energy of my butt is finally sitting in the butt in the chair. Boom, I'm here. Oh, I'm grounded. And my energy changes. You'll feel it. It's a calmness. It's a clarity. It's a purity. I'm no longer like jangling, waiting for something to happen. I'm now this is conscious work. It's not something you just learn in an instant. You need to go out and in and out and in, because this has been in our system for so long. We're out and in and out and in and out and in, out of our body 10,000 times in a day. How do I get back in my body? And it's been explained to me that we as human beings are taught to do, and we're very little in our being. Now, being is, I'm in my body, what's right? If I'm not in my being, I'm chasing. I want a relationship. I want money. I want a job. I want more clients. I want this. I want that. Can you hear how exhausted that gets? So I would call the gift of the ADHD teaches us what I call self-mastery. Self-mastery is being consciously aware. I was sitting here this morning, I sent something, I'm going to a drum circle tonight, and the guy didn't respond right away. And I'm like, my brain's kind of going like this a mile a minute. Oh, maybe he doesn't like me. Maybe he doesn't want me to come. Maybe blah, 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 blah. And I just sat there and I said, no. It's like speaking to a little child that's just like, blah, 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 blah. And I said, no. And I got my nervous system. I got calm. About a half an hour later, he texted me back and he says, oh, yeah, come on down. You don't need to bring anything. There's no potluck tonight. Looking forward to it. The only thing that told me all that kind of stuff, I thought I was reading the energy and all this kind of stuff. And I just said, no, that was my old path. I'm not going to sit and think the worst every time. That's another thing that I found in my ADHD. It was like overthinking things. And I would, by somebody not responding, I would read something into it that wasn't true, and I would make a big story about it. It was like, oh, they hate me, and this is awful, and what's wrong with them, and all this kind of stuff. And when I finally grew up enough in my inner child to be able to have a conversation, it's like, well, when you didn't respond, I thought this. And they're like, I didn't think that at all. I was just so busy. My son was sick, and my world was this and that. And I'm going to call you to this self-awareness. You're going to find out a lot of things that you believe to be true or talked yourself into are not actually true. So you got to be consciously aware and consciously checking in on what's running as a program in your brain, because you may be having programs and stories that are in your subconscious mind. Your subconscious is trying to protect you against it, and it will foul up your whole world. It'll make you not have dating relationships. It'll make you have fear over public situations. It will do all these things. But as I've self-mastered myself, I feel that state in my body. I can feel myself. I go up and I'll start to push my tongue against the roof of my mouth. I found that all the time, to the point that I get a headache, like pushing on the soft palate, just braced, or my jaw would be tight, or I'd feel it in my throat and I was only breathing like 10% of my lungs. And I was constantly in a state of feeling like I was asphyxiating myself. And this is very common. When you're not fully in your body, you forget to breathe consciously into your diaphragm, right down to the bottom of your belly. Breathe in, fill yourself up. And just be like a collapsing, falling balloon. Open your mouth wide and your whole body just collapses down. Now all the carbon dioxide is out of my body. Guess what? Every alveoli in my lungs is now filled with life-giving light and love and joy. How many times do you take a conscious breath like that in a day? Another one I learned is when you breathe in, breathe the back of your ribs out. This may sound weird, but usually you're expanding the front of your chest. Well, try expanding the back of your ribs. A lot of us have a spine that's rigid and tight, and it's hanging on for dear life. Behind my heart, I can feel this like claws almost in the back of my heart, and it hurts, and I got to crunch and crack and roll on a ball sometimes and other stuff. How much of that is because we're not consciously breathing our body? Expand. Just 3 breaths like that will change your life in that moment. You'll reset your nervous system, and then recognize maybe in 15 minutes, you'll be right back to where you were. These are the well-worn pathways inside of our brain that are like, okay, this is all that I can expect. This is all that's going to happen. Oh, life's hell, and this is uncomfortable. And then say some good things about yourself. Say, I love you. I love you, Paul. I love this world. Today is going to be massive and amazing. I'm going to meet some amazing people, and I love it. My purpose is expanding me. My ability to walk into the world and shine my light is magnified by 100-fold every time I smile. And then smile. Force yourself to a smile. Even if it's like, you're still moving the muscles that are all trapped in here and atrophied and all this kind of stuff. That is way overboard, but Smile with your eyes. Smile with your lips. There's no pressure, there's no force, but you can't help but feel a little bit of an endorphin rush into your body. All because we took conscious action. When things were feeling heavy, my body was and I, instead of drinking a pop or sugar or whatever to energize me and some caffeine or whatever, drink some water, put a little pinch of sea salt in it, or touch a couple. I like to put a pinch in, and then whatever's left on my finger, I just touch to my tongue. The actual act of a crystal of salt touching your tongue will increase your water intake massively in your body. So you'll drink it and it'll just feel like you're more refreshed. If you're constantly dry mouth and you can't figure out why you're dry mouth, touch a little bit of salt. We are chronically salt deprived. They say that salt is increasing our blood pressure, but salt is required to move energy in our nervous system. So a good test. And I was so surprised. I'm an engineer. It's like, take a battery that's fully charged, take some booster cables, hook them up, and then put it in a bucket of completely distilled water, completely pure water with no impurities in it. Those booster cables will not explode and arc and all this kind of stuff. If you touch the booster cables, they'll go bzz, 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 big sparks coming off. But if you put it in distilled water, it does not conduct electricity, because the contaminants, limestone, calcium, magnesium, etc., in the water is what conducts the electricity. Same thing goes in your body. So if you're drinking distilled water all day and saying, okay, I'm healthy and all this kind of stuff, and it doesn't have those minerals in it, you need to replenish them somehow. There's a beautiful product. It's called Schlusser cell salts. Basically, they call it Combo 12. It's like 12 different minerals. And I basically put it in underneath my tongue, and basically it starts to move the energy in my body, gets my body back to no longer suppressing and more into radiating. Next one, if you're not feeling regulated, like I said, put your feet in the grass. Right now it's freezing cold here and there's still snow on the ground, so that's not a possibility. So I'll go hug a tree instead. There's 6 trees in the park, and I'll just go and I'll give them a big, massive bear hug and ask their permission. But basically, I just give this big hug, and basically the first tree extracts all that no longer serves. I just say, I'll allow, and it goes into the center of the earth and gets alchemized, and then it comes out the second tree in its purified form, and then I receive from the second tree, and there's 3 waves of this. Do things like that. Go pet your dog, go pet your cat, go ride a horse, go pet a horse, go be around animals. These animals are nature, and they will, I don't know about you, but dogs have saved more people than I can count, because their owners are very angry and scared, and the dogs will take all this stuff on. Cats are another cool one. They have 1 foot in the etheric and 1 foot in the normal. So you can have cats that are conducting you to spirit, and stuff can channel through them. Just for the longest time, cats didn't like me, but cats are drawn to me. They'll just like go around my leg and rub their fur against me, and they want to purr and lay in my lap and other things, because I've calmed what's going on inside of me. I've calmed my lineage. Now, this is another one. So I talked about epigenetic lineage. We're carrying all this stuff. Well, shamanism teaches us that we have the medicine. We came here to basically heal 7 generations back and 10 generations forward of our lineage. So basically stuff that happened with your great grandmother or 3 grandmothers back. Maybe they were raped, or they had a trauma, or somebody was in the concentration camp, or had some really huge painful wound. We are resolving it right here. I'm not going to pass it to my kids, even though I passed some of it to my kids, but I've resolved it since. We will not pass it to our children, and our children will not pass it on, because we're cleaning everything up. I came here, my parents came here to do the same, but they weren't successful at it, or they did some of it, but not all of it. But I'm here to clean it up, so my kids can have a true life, not filled with a whole bunch of repression and shame and patriarchy versus matriarchy and all these programs and stories that we're in collective reality about. It's kind of funny. My relationships would echo with my son, but my relationships were based on my mother. My ex-wife was my mother. I married my mother. He'd probably marry his mother, except I broke the cycle. I had a divorce. I was told that I would die. I was giving so much love to my wife and my family that I would die unless I left my marriage. which is hell. I just like, what the fuck? I don't want to die. But I had to step out of codependence, attachment, and I learned that. And then my relationships after that, I still went into versions of that until I learned, because my nervous system is not regulated more often than not. It's changing now, and that's what I think the ADHD is, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder is. We can get into autism in a second, but it basically makes me hypersensitive so that I feel everything. It's a gift in that I feel everything and I can process it very quickly. Like I can think something through like that. So it's a gift, like instantly, as soon as I can see what's in my shadow, what's not serving me or whatever, I can make a choice and say, no, that doesn't serve me anymore. Just like I said with the conversation earlier that my brain was having about the drum circle or whatever. It's like, no, that doesn't serve me anymore. That's self-mastery, ultimately saying, no, that's not serving me. I don't know where this is coming from. This is a story. This is a program. I send it to God. I send it up to be transmuted. I move through it so I never have to go there again. A friend of mine, Joy, she basically has this process called presence manifest. But it's basically looking at think of it as a movie that's replaying in your life. Oh, I was a divorced man. Oh, I had this trauma. I had a wounded mother. These are all programs that served us to a point, but no longer need to replay once we've learned the lessons from them. So an angry boss, an angry whatever, could be because you haven't addressed something with your dad because he was yelling at you as a kid, or was very controlling, or there's a million different things. To sit with it and say, okay, who's this boss a symbol of? Who's my ex-wife a symbol of? Why can't I deal with this anymore? And then all of a sudden you're like, ooh, okay, I keep doing that to myself. If I had the knowledge that I have now, I would probably have not even had a divorce. I had to destroy my life and give my house up and hurt my kids and all this kind of stuff, all because I couldn't have a hard conversation with my wife. How many times has that happened to you in your life? Because you can't deal with the energy of what's going on, you will basically close up shop and run away. I'm going to suggest retreat to your bedroom, a quiet place where you can be calm, put your hand on your heart and start breathing. And if you want to breathe and move through it, and then start to ask, why is this coming up? What is in this for me? If we start to learn what I call self-responsibility, instead of the world's happening to me and I'm a victim to it, we say, this is happening for me, and why is it happening? And no longer giving our power to our perpetrator and for example, me and my ex-wife and mother and all this kind of stuff. I learned that this was happening for me to learn to self-love myself, no longer keep giving myself away and hurting myself by giving too much to other people, not staying in balance. So I don't want to take this too long, and I just wanted to touch on autism really quick. I've met very many autistic children. I think they run at a higher frequency than us. They feel the world is very intense and overwhelming because they're processing faster. They feel emotions stronger. It's a level above ADHD as far as I'm concerned, but they will get overwhelmed, and then they go into states of overwhelm. They make noises. They'll act out. They'll be violent, etc., because they haven't been given the tools to work at a 3D level. Maybe they're 5D, or maybe they're a higher level or a consciousness or whatever. I believe it's another gift. You can call it a curse if you want, but it basically shows they're processing at a different level. They feel emotion more strongly, etc. And this is a world that's filled with really dense, uncomfortable, life lesson making lessons or energies. So in conclusion, let me summarize some of the tools, because there's a lot here. And migrating through my experience of ADHD, I'm 54 years old and I'm still learning shit about it. But the medical system just before I get to the tools, the medical system basically diagnosed me as something wrong. They gave me pills. I fought taking pills for a long time, and I watched my brothers take some pills and other things, and it seemed to help. So I took this pill called Celexa for a little while. It was like 3 or 4 months, and it helped, but I realized it was a crutch. So I stepped off it. I moved on to a diet called carnivore, and it shifted something in my brain chemistry that helped me cope with things. No longer was I getting into despair loops and into disappointment and frustration and other things. I just felt more grounded in my body, and that's what meat will do for you. The carnivore diet is just basically meat, cheese, some milk, some eggs, mostly red meat. And it shifted my brain chemistry, my perspective. And I've spoken to many, many people. If you look back on my timeline, I'll try and dig it out and post it here, but a friend named Sherry Oler, and she basically made the choice after trying all the other things, vegan, whole foods, juicing, fasting, vegetarian, whatever. And the only thing that cured the pain that was going on in her body on a regular basis was carnivore. And it was almost instant. Within a couple of weeks or a month, that pain was gone. That's an evidence for me. And you can look, there's a beautiful woman named Steak and Butter Girl on Facebook. I think she's on YouTube as well. 90-pound Asian woman that basically changed to carnivore and will never go back. She's an absolute patriot to it. It's healed people's reproductive health and allowed them to have children and other things. There's another guy named Dr. Ken Berry that can talk about it. He's supposedly the starter of it. There's another one called the Lion Diet. These are all things that people are doing. The biggest thing that I noticed whenever I'd get dysregulated or I'd be out of my nervous system or I'd go on a medicine journey or something and it felt really like this or whatever, I needed to have some meat. And I'd eat that meat and it would ground me. It would pull me back into my body. And I'll tell you right now, this is a really funny thing, is when you're full carnivore and you're taking no carbs, your body uses almost everything you ingest. It takes all that protein and it doesn't come out as waste. It takes all that protein and it goes into your body. When I started eating vegetables and other things, there's a lot of waste created. People call roughage and whatever, but I'm not gassy. I do not have bloating. I do not have the belly fat I had before. You go into a state of ketosis and it basically burns off and dissolves the toxins in your body. And it's massive. You'll literally go into what they call the carnivore flu. It's about the first 6 weeks, which happens with a lot of different diets, but you'll just feel sluggish and dry because you're no longer ingesting sugar. You're no longer getting highs and lows. It literally cured diabetes in me. And the no longer consumption of saturated fats and other things, oils to cook with and other things, is clearing atherosclerosis. I can't even say the word, that fatty buildup inside your veins and other things in your body, which can heal strokes and keep you from getting to those states. I don't know any other diet that's done that massive. Like literally my blood sugars were completely dysregulated from just eating simple foods, and it wasn't lots of sugar and fats and stuff like that. And it went from completely dysregulated to my blood sugar is bang on 7 all the time, just by eating meat, because it doesn't turn into sugar quickly. It has a slow, planned regulation, and your body's not in these spikes. And if your pancreas, there we go. If your pancreas, which is coated in fat a lot of times because we're eating all those fats and all those other things, once all those fats have all dissolved away, your pancreas creates our insulin. And if we're going through sugar highs like this, it's constantly having to go up and down and up and down and up and down. And when it's covered with fat, it can't release the insulin anymore. And then your body starts having eye damage and feet damage and sensory impacts. Those are all gone. In over a 6-week period of being carnivore, I've been doing it for probably 9-10 months now. I think it was September last year I started, and I wouldn't want to go back. Now I slowly started to reintroduce some carbs so that I have some balance and it feels good or whatever. But these can regulate you. From a kid, I wanted to be carnivore. I just ate my meat, but I got the worst traumas of my life when my dad screamed at me for not eating my vegetables and forcing me to stay at the table and other things. So diet can also be helpful. And carnivore may not be for you. You may have different beliefs. But if you're having a lot of health problems, I would just say try it and see if it makes a change. And there's a lot of good stuff on there. Look up Steak and Butter Gal or Dr. Ken Berry, and they'll tell you exactly how to do it. You don't need a book. You don't need anything. It's just simple. And they recommend eating red meat because cows have 3 stomachs, and they basically clean a lot of the toxins out. Why do you think they want Beyond Meat and all these things that they can put poisons in and toxins? Because red meat is some of the purest food you can consume. The cow has literally got its own filtration, and it takes mercury and lead and toxins in the environment out, and basically it goes into their muscles and it gives you pure protein and a lot of B vitamins and other things that the body needs, and it's a good thing. And once you start to understand that not all our society, not all our medicine, etc., is around keeping us healthy, it's sometimes keeping us on a path where we'll consume more medicine. Why do you think medicine and medicines are the same word? It's been distorted and distracted to shrink us and to disempower us. So if you have more questions about ADHD, put them in this post. DM me directly, Paul Hanreader. I'm on Facebook. I can be commented on YouTube. My website is awakeningyou.net, and I can counsel people, talk to them. You can have a 20-minute free consultation. What I've learned needs to be shared, and this is a journey that many of us are going on. And I wish I had somebody like myself to be able to talk to when I was going through all that kind of stuff. Basically, my value to you is to avoid the pitfalls, avoid the games, avoid the patterns that the world is basically forcing us into, so that you can get through this much quicker. And once you have these tools and this kind of stuff, you'll then start to realize that you have a hypersensitivity to everything, and you don't want to be turned off, and you have this gift. You can turn up the volume control on and then be aware and be present for a person so that they can get through their stuckness, their other things. You may be a healer. You may be a deep empath. You may have gifts that you haven't even become aware of yet because you're fighting yourself and chasing in a world that expects you to slow down and match them, when really you're an upgraded human as far as I'm concerned. Upgraded humans have some of their spiritual gifts left in their body so that they can use them and begin to coexist with them. And then more gifts are going to show up. Claircognizance is the most loving gift I ever received. And it's basically, I just know stuff. And people say, how could you possibly know that? And it's like, I know it. It's truth. I can talk to you deeply about stuff like the Temple of Isis, whereas I've been a priest in the Temple of Isis, and how sacred sexuality works, and how that can change your life and regulate your nervous system and heal you very quickly. But a lot of people are so shamed and so deeply uncomfortable with that, they don't want to know. But this truth, this innocence and purity about our pleasure and the healing power that it has on our body needs to be given to everyone. So you have a gift with ADHD, and I hope you have seen the possibility that it may be a gift and basically moved it from the curse to self-love, and shine with that. Talk to other people, share it with them. You are the gift of change, of light, of possibility, of truth. I'm being the gift as well. I love you all. And the reason I wear this, that's the Temple of Isis. That's the symbol of Isis, that Ankh, which is the original, before even the Catholic cross. They stole that because it was an Egyptian principle. So I love you all. Thank you for listening. You have a good day and keep shining with your ADHD. You are massive. You are good. You got this. Talk to you soon.